Welcome back to the channel, Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the Warhammer Age of Sigmar MetaWatch for 2022. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so taking a look at the MetaWatch here. When 2022 began, the third edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar was in its infancy and still finding its feet. 12 months and 11 Battletomes later, the game's competitive scene has settled and boasts a mature meta that evolves with each new release. So that's a pretty cool matchup right there. The lead games developer for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Matt Rose, is back again to discuss the twists and turns of the vintage year for the Mortal Realms. He takes a look at the top list from the US Open Grand Finale in New Mexico and reflects on how balance has shifted over the past year. With the latest tranche of data now collected from the final tournaments of the year, external balance appears to be in a very healthy place, with almost every faction close to the target window of 45 to 55%. This is especially clear when you compare with the data from last December, as it is demonstrated on the graph below. Alright, so we basically have a little setup here with the faction, the current win rate, the change versus 2021, and then the win rate comparison. So starting off here, so this is nice. We have a compilation of data for the entire year. We also have it compared to last year's data. Now, it's not going to be as accurate because this is over a 12-month period, and we've seen some recent, substantial changes in a couple of factions. So, like Beasts of Chaos, for instance, something like that, the numbers may be a little bit skewed because they were relatively weak and then saw a massive boost in strength. But if we take a look down the list, top is Disciples of Tzeentch at 57%, and that's plus or minus 4. And then we see plus 7 from last year. So they were at 50% last year, and then now they're at 57. So they were inside of the acceptable range. Now they're above. Daughters of Khaine, 56, plus or minus 4, and they're down 3% from last year. So still strong, but coming into balance. Then we see Beasts of Chaos. This is by far the most drastic of changes. So Beasts of Chaos currently at 56%, plus or minus 4, but they're up 23% from last year. So they literally doubled their win rate in this year. And part of that is the new Battletome, but also they did have that Army of Renown from White Dwarf that gave them a huge boost right before their Battletome came out. So then we see Seraphon. They have been consistently strong, so they're at 55 now. They're minus 1 from last year. So they came back into the acceptable range, so that is good. Lumineth Realm Lords at 53%, minus 3, so they were toned back but stayed strong. Soul Blight Grave Lords 52 at plus 1. Sons of Behemoth 52, minus 8. So they were a little too strong at 60. Now they're at 52 in the acceptable range. Ogre Maw Tribes 52, plus 8. Herodon Overlords 51, plus 5. Maggotkin 51, plus 1. Stormcast Eternals 50, minus 1. Fireslayers 50, plus 7. Night Hunt 50, plus 12. Sylvaneth 49, plus 4. Blades of Corn 49 plus 1, Iron Jaws 49 minus 5, Idneth Deepkin 49 minus 9. So far the biggest change to the downside in Idneth Deepkins and also Sons of Behemoth, but both still hang out around the center of the range, which is where you want them to be. Flesh Eater Courts 48 plus 5, Bone Splitters 48 plus 5, Osiarch Bone Reapers 48 minus 3, and then we see Skaven 47 plus 4, Cities of Sigmar 46 plus 2, Big Wa is just 45. And then we see the only outliers on the bottom side here. So we see Slaves to Darkness, who just got a new Battletome. So we're obviously going to see this change, as typically when the new book comes out, the faction gets stronger. So they are currently 44, minus 7. So they were in the acceptable range, kind of fell out of it with everyone else getting stronger, them getting a little weaker. But now here they should move back in shortly. Then we see Hedonites of Slaanesh, 44%, and that's at plus 17. So they're plus 17 from where they were a year ago, and they're only at 44%. That is really bad. They definitely, whatever changes happen, definitely helped, but they still need just a little more of a boost. And then we see Gloomspite Gitz, 44 at plus 9. So they should get even better now, again, with their new Battletome coming out. So they should be very strong with that. And then finally, at the bottom, the Kruleboyz at 41% and minus 8. So very much underperforming. 4% where they should be at the minimum at 45, and then minus 8 from the prior year. So getting worse. So everybody else getting stronger. Kruleboyz are getting weaker, and they're getting weaker I mean, they're the worst faction, and the most of a downturn we saw from any of the factions was -8, -9, and -8 for the Kruleboyz. So not only are they already the worst faction, but whatever changes happened this year, the Kruleboyz felt the blunt to the downside. So that being said, the Kruleboyz need a serious boost. And to tell you the truth, you should never see the starter armies that come in the starter set as the worst armies. We see that with Space Marines, and for a while, Necrons were not doing particularly well in 40k. We see that here. Stormcast are not doing bad. They have a lot of units to pick from. So even if the internal balance isn't great, the external balance can still work out pretty good as long as there's a couple good units. But the Kruleboyz are getting no love. -8, 41%, a starter army that lots and lots of people get into the game with, and they can't win with it, or it's very, very difficult to perform even average. That's not good for game state. So I definitely think the Kruleboyz need a big bump up here. So Slaves of Darkness should be fine. Hedonites of Slaanesh, kind of hanging around at the bottom. Gloomspite Gitz have their new Battletome as well, so both those should be fine. So Hedonites need a little bit of a bump to get them back in the acceptable range, but Kruleboyz really need something here. And now a quick message from this week's sponsor. This video is sponsored by CMOgames.com, where you can get 15% off most Games Workshop pre-orders, and they go live right at midnight Saturday mornings. CMOgames.com offers free shipping on orders over $25 in the US 48, and most orders ship within 24 hours. CMOgames.com has been selling Games Workshop products online for more than 20 years, and customer service is their top priority. CMOgames.com carries the full line of Games Workshop products, including 40k, Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, warcry, paints, hobbies, and tools. Visit CMOgames.com using the affiliate link in the description below so they know you heard about CMOgames.com from Warhammer Man Studios. Now, back to the video. The 2022 US Open Series concluded recently, crowning a worthy winner in, I'm not going to say, because spoiler alert. Yeah, so it was Seraphon versus Skaven. Dean Bills with the Seraphon, Matthias Crucial's Skaven. So let's check these lists out real quick here. So for the Seraphon, we see Saurus Scar Veteran on Carnosaur, Slan Star Master, and then Skink Starseer, Skink Star Priest. And then we see 2 squads of 10 Saurus Knights, 5 more Saurus Knights, all with lances, and then 5 Saurus Guard, Chameleon Skinks ×5, Chameleon Skinks ×5, Celestant Prime with the Hammer of Sigmar for an ally. So strong heavy hitter from the Stormcast. And then compared to the Skaven here, so we see the Verminlord Deceiver as the general, Thanquil the Bone Ripper, Warlock Engineer, Master Molder, 20 Clan Rats, 20 Clan Rats, 20 Clan Rats, 18 Giant Rats, 3 Warp Lightning Cannons, Lucan the Soul Seeker, and yeah, overall, a couple of pretty nice lists. Obviously, the Skaven using numbers. We see a lot of the points obviously are spent on leaders here. So we see we see over 1,000 points spent on leaders for the Skaven, and about 775 for the Seraphon. And then on top of that, they have that ally as well for 325. So basically, both these armies over 1,000 points essentially in leader / allies. So very, very strong. Obviously, quite a bit of hero hammer going on here. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but be aware that you're going to need some strong leaders if you want to compete. 2023 is shaping up to be a huge year for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. In the new year, we'll be joined by the Beasts of Chaos and Gloomspite Gitz, and there are plenty more Battletomes on the way, including the hotly anticipated Cities of Sigmar. So yeah, I know the Cities of Sigmar, Battletome is super exciting. People are definitely excited to see that. So overall, how is GW doing? Balancing Sigmar. So we have 4 factions that are out the bottom. 2 of those should correct very soon with their new Battletome. So not bad on the downside. And then we have 3 that are slightly out the top here at 56, 56, and 47. Now, obviously, the thing to pay attention to, though, is are the Beasts of Chaos and the Disciples of Tzeentch going to continue to strengthen as more of the data rolls off from the old stuff and the new stuff, gets picked up here? Because we could see, this essentially gap widen and these continue to get stronger. So that's definitely worth paying attention to. The same way we have to really be careful for Kruleboyz and Hedonites of Slaanesh. Hedonites has been at least improving. Kruleboyz is bad and has been getting worse. So we need to make sure that that trend of Kruleboyz getting slowly worse does not continue. So very interesting. Nice little breakdown here. I do like that they're using the data and presenting the data to us so we can make our own judgments, comparisons, etc. I think overall Sigmar is in a good place. Obviously, a couple factions need a little help. A couple factions need a, little bit of a tone down. But overall, competitive game, fun. You consistently see various different winners. I mean, there's obviously certain armies that have been strong for a long time now. Seraphon are very strong. We see the numbers telling us that Sons of Bahamut are very strong. But then when we look at top tables, we look at winners of big events. We see Seraphon are winning big events. But, Sons of Bahamut are not necessarily. So some of these like middle, kind of like higher tier armies are really good gatekeepers, but not necessarily winning events. And I think that's okay. It's all right to have some gatekeepers that are maybe easy to play or fun, that can beat most lists without too much effort. But when they come up against the right list, have a very low probability of winning. And that's essentially what a gatekeeper is. So, I think they're doing a good job with Sons of Bahamut and some of these other gatekeeper armies like that, stopping them from being too powerful, but making sure that when people are building their list, that they're doing so in a way that hey, if you run into Sons of Bahamut, you're going to need a little bit different stuff in there to handle it. Now, some of the other lists at the top here, we got to really be careful of Beasts of Chaos and Disciples of Tzeentch. So, obviously, we saw a dark pact between Games Workshop and the rules writers, as we have seen Tzeentch for 40k and for Sigmar just skyrocket to the top. So they obviously went a little too strong with the new Tzeentch rules for both 40k and Sigmar. That being said, going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Let me know what you think. What are your main armies? What have you found in tournaments or just in play with your friends? Are there any factions that are just far too strong? Any that are just far too weak? Obviously Kruleboyz need a big boost up here. Obviously Disciples of Tzeentch a little too strong right now. Daughters of Khaine as well. But let's kind of see how that all balances out here. So special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check them out for free shipping and 15% discount. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I'm Warhammer Man. This is Warhammer Man Studios, and I'm out of here.